For a long time, I used to believe that communication was simple. You speak and people listen. At least that's what I thought. But as the years passed, I started noticing something strange. Two people could say almost the exact same thing, yet the reactions they received were completely different. One person would speak and everyone would pay attention. Heads would turn. People would listen carefully. Their words seemed to carry weight. But another person could say the same idea and nobody cared. People looked at their phones, conversations drifted away. Their words disappeared in the air as if they had never been spoken. At first, I thought it was about intelligence. Maybe the people who were heard were simply smarter. But over time, I realized that wasn't true. I met brilliant people who struggled to get others to listen to them. And I met people with very ordinary ideas who somehow commanded attention the moment they opened their mouths. That's when I realized something important. Communication is not just about what you say, it's about how the human mind receives what you say. There's an invisible system behind attention, a psychological map that determines whether people listen or ignore you. And once you understand that map, something interesting happens. You no longer need to force people to listen. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to repeat yourself again and again. People begin to listen naturally. After years of observing conversations, public speakers, leaders, and everyday interactions, I began to see a pattern, and that pattern can be summarized in a few powerful principles. Think of them as rules that govern human attention. If you understand them, you will know how to talk in a way that people naturally want to listen. So, let's begin. The first rule is the rule of clarity over complexity. Many people make a mistake when they speak. They believe that sounding intelligent means using complicated words and long explanations. They believe that the more detailed their explanation is, the more convincing it becomes. But the human mind doesn't work that way. When people listen to someone speak, their brain is constantly asking a silent question. Is this easy to understand? If the answer is no, attention immediately begins to fade. Think about the last time someone explained something in a confusing way. Maybe it was a teacher, a coworker, or someone telling a long story that seemed to go nowhere. What happened inside your mind? You probably stopped listening, not because you didn't care, but because your brain didn't want to do the extra work. People listen to those who make things clear, not those who make things complicated. The most powerful communicators in the world understand this deeply. They simplify complex ideas into simple language. They remove unnecessary words. They speak in a way that allows people to follow their thoughts without effort. So if you want people to listen to you, always ask yourself one question before you speak. Can this idea be explained more simply? Because the clearer your message becomes, the easier it is for people to stay with you. The second rule is the rule of emotional connection. Facts alone rarely hold attention. Emotion does. You may notice that when someone tells a story with feeling, people naturally lean in and listen. But when someone lists facts without emotion, attention disappears quickly. The reason is simple. Human beings are emotional creatures before they are logical ones. Our minds are wired to pay attention to things that carry emotion. Joy, fear, curiosity, surprise, admiration. These feelings act like magnets for attention. This is why stories are so powerful. A story doesn't just present information, it creates an emotional experience in the mind of the listener. Imagine someone explaining the importance of perseverance by listing statistics about success rates. Now imagine someone else telling the story of someone who failed again and again before finally achieving their goal. Which one holds your attention longer? The story. Because emotion activates the imagination. It allows the listener to see the idea rather than simply hear it. So if you want people to listen to you, don't only deliver information, connect your message to human emotion. Use stories, use examples, let people feel the meaning of your words. The third rule is the rule of confidence in delivery. People do not only listen to words, they listen to certainty. You may have noticed that some people speak with hesitation. Their voice fades at the end of sentences. They constantly second-guess themselves. They fill their speech with phrases like maybe, I'm not sure, or I could be wrong. When people hear this kind of uncertainty, something subtle happens in their mind. They begin to doubt the message. But when someone speaks with calm confidence, the opposite occurs. Even simple ideas sound important when delivered with certainty. Confidence signals belief, and belief is contagious. This doesn't mean you need to shout or dominate conversations. True confidence is often quiet, it's steady, it's controlled. It comes from speaking clearly, pausing when necessary, and allowing your words to land. When people feel that you believe what you're saying, they are far more likely to listen. The fourth rule is the rule of listening before speaking. This may sound surprising, but one of the most powerful ways to make people listen to you is to listen to them first. Most people enter conversations thinking about what they want to say next. They wait for their turn to speak, rather than truly paying attention. But when someone feels genuinely heard, something powerful happens. They become more open to hearing you. Listening creates psychological trust. It signals respect, and respect makes people far more willing to consider your words. You may have noticed this with great conversationalists. They ask thoughtful questions. They listen carefully. They respond to what was said rather than changing the subject. Because of this, when they finally speak, people pay attention. Not because they demand attention, but because they have earned it. The fifth rule is the rule of strategic pauses. Many people think that talking continuously keeps attention. In reality, the opposite is often true. Constant speech overwhelms the mind, but pauses create space. A well-placed pause allows the listener's brain to process what was just said. It also creates anticipation for what comes next. Think about powerful speakers. They don't rush through their words. They allow silence to exist between important ideas. Silence, when used correctly, becomes part of the message. It signals confidence, it gives weight to your words, and it keeps people mentally engaged. The sixth rule is the rule of curiosity. If people know exactly what you are going to say from the beginning, their attention fades quickly. But when curiosity is present, the mind becomes alert. Curiosity is created when information is revealed gradually. Instead of explaining everything immediately, the speaker leads the listener step by step toward an insight. For example, instead of saying the conclusion first, a skilled communicator may begin with a question, an observation, or an intriguing statement. Something that makes the listener think, where is this going? This small moment of uncertainty keeps the mind engaged. The brain wants closure. It wants to resolve the unanswered question, and so it continues listening. Great storytellers understand this instinct. They guide the listener through a journey of discovery. And if you want people to listen to you, you must learn to create that same sense of curiosity. Now, before we continue with the next rule, take a quick moment to support the channel. If you enjoy learning about psychology, communication, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe and like this video. It helps the channel grow and allows more people to discover these ideas. Now, let's continue. The seventh rule is the rule of respectful authority. Authority in communication does not come from dominance. It comes from the way you carry your ideas. When someone constantly apologizes for their opinions or speaks as if their ideas are not important, people sense that energy. But when someone presents their ideas with calm respect for themselves and others, their words naturally carry more influence. Respectful authority means expressing your thoughts clearly without attacking or belittling others. It means standing by your ideas without needing to prove that everyone else is wrong. People are far more willing to listen to someone who communicates with composure and respect than someone who argues aggressively. The eighth rule is the rule of relevance. One of the fastest ways to lose attention is to speak about things that do not matter to the listener. Human attention is selective. People naturally focus on things that connect to their needs, interests, or problems. This means that effective communicators always consider the perspective of their audience. Before speaking, they ask themselves a simple question: why should this matter to the person listening? When your message connects to the listener's world, attention increases dramatically. But when a message feels distant or irrelevant, the mind begins to wander. Great communicators build bridges between their ideas and the listener's experience. They show why the message matters. The ninth rule is the rule of story over explanation. The human brain remembers stories far better than explanations. When you present an idea through a story, you activate multiple parts of the mind: imagination, emotion, memory, and curiosity. A story transforms an abstract idea into a vivid experience. Think about how often people remember a story someone told them years ago while forgetting countless explanations they heard last week. Stories create mental pictures, and mental pictures stay with us. So when you want people to listen and remember, frame your message through stories whenever possible. The 10th rule is the rule of energy alignment. Communication is not only about words, it is also about energy. People unconsciously read tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language. If these signals do not match the message, listeners feel a subtle sense of disconnect. For example, if someone talks about excitement with a dull voice and lifeless posture, the message loses power. But when words and energy align, communication becomes far more persuasive. This does not mean exaggerating emotion or pretending to be someone you are not. It simply means allowing your genuine energy to match the importance of your message. When your voice, expression, and words move in the same direction, people naturally feel the authenticity behind them, and authenticity is one of the most powerful forces in communication. Now, as we reach the final principle, we arrive at something deeper than technique. The final rule is the rule of inner presence. At the highest level, people listen not only because of the words you use, but because of the presence you bring into the conversation. Presence means being fully engaged in the moment. It means speaking with awareness rather than rushing through thoughts. When someone is truly present, their attention becomes focused, their listening becomes deeper, their responses become more thoughtful, and others can feel this difference. Presence creates a sense of calm authority. It signals that you are not trying to impress or dominate. You are simply expressing something meaningful, and that energy invites attention. In the end, the ability to make people listen is not about manipulation. It is not about tricks or clever phrases. It is about understanding how the human mind naturally responds to communication. When your words are clear, when your message carries emotion, when your delivery shows confidence, when you listen before speaking, when you create curiosity and relevance, people begin to listen, not because you forced them to, but because your communication respects the way the human mind works. And something even more interesting happens at that point. You stop worrying about whether people are paying attention, because attention becomes a natural result of the way you speak. The truth is, powerful communication is not reserved for charismatic leaders or famous speakers. It is a skill that anyone can develop with awareness and practice. And when you master it, conversations change, relationships change, opportunities change. Because the ability to express your ideas in a way that people truly hear is one of the most powerful skills a person can possess. In the end, talking so people listen is not about manipulation, it's about understanding them. And when you speak in a way that aligns with how the human mind works, your voice becomes something rare, a voice people actually want to hear.